Speaking of without the drugs, he does it clean. No PEDs for this guy. From The Athletic, home of the best sports writing, all in one place in the entire world, perhaps the entire universe. Although I have not checked out The Athletic on any other planets. The one, the only, Sam Amick. Good morning, Sam. How are you?
David, doing well. Thanks for publicly acknowledging my cleanliness. Greatly appreciate that.
Can I also publicly acknowledge your scathing burns that you levy via text message? They're just crazy. I got a family to think about. You realize that, right?
You ready to talk about cricket? Is that what you're telling me?
So I can't divulge most of what Sam and I were texting about yesterday, but I can just say that Sam wanted to spend a little time on cricket, and I honestly thought he was talking about the dart game. And he let me know that he was talking about the actual, with the paddles and the wicked googlies and all that. But
he plays cricket.
Yeah, but he called me. You know what? I think I can. No, I don't know if I can say it or not. But he called me.
You can say the first one. I mean, the first one, I was G-rated.
The one that starts with D and is 2 words and has a W in there.
Yeah,
I can say that on the air. Right? He called me
no profanity.
That's true.
Dip.
He called me a dipwad. DIPWAD. I was like, come on, Grandpa. You're a dipwad.
Dipwad grandson.
But I came strong with the follow. Come on now.
He followed it up with another compound phrase.
A real humdinger, huh?
Yeah. That one I can't say on the air. And what'd you say? You picked it up from a video game?
Yeah, so, and again, we have fun sharing kid stories. Our sons are 13 and 11. I've been really, over the years, I've been pretty strict about video games, and they don't play Call of Duty and stuff like that.
Same here.
And honestly, I'll just admit it, the pandemic kind of changes. There's a lot of time to kill.
Right.
And so we've been playing this Walking Dead zombie game. And it's honestly a great game. And I've noticed, Dave, that you like gaming, and I've started paying attention to your reviews on Facebook and whatnot. But so the Walking Dead game is a lot of fun, but it is super filthy from a profanity standpoint. And so one of the guys gets mad at the other dude in the game, and the insult, it rhymed with buck stick.
Yep. Yep. And you laid that on me last night. I was like, wow, Sam. Hey, babe.
The best part was and now it's become a video game interview, but
sure.
It's like the zombie gets this big dude, the big, strong, hulking guy, and the zombie almost pushed him off a cliff into his death, and he just triggered and he got mad, and he said, "You F stick."
Right.
It was hilarious. And my kids looked at me like, "Oh God."
Yeah, what do you say to them at that point? You just kind of shrug your shoulders?
Yeah, pretty much.
The worst part is.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, well, he's right.
Yeah, I mean, he was an F stick.
I've kind of just gotten over it, and I don't want to take this for granted. But to their credit, they're good on that front. They don't seem, whatever. I don't feel like it's having the concerning impact.
Wait till the next time they're in a fight with each other, and one of them calls the other. Yeah, that's coming.
The threshold too is it's one of those role playing games where you're picking what you say.
Oh,
and
okay.
I will admit the part where I get uncomfortable. It doesn't happen a lot, thankfully, but when they gives you 3 options and one of them includes a bad word, and now you are actively choosing to hit a button, which I think I've only done once total out of 100 opportunities. I just, but yes, that's when I think I'm losing the Father of the Year award. PlayStation
or Xbox?
Our systems are old and they keep running, so this is Xbox One.
Wow.
Dude, we have a PS3.
Wow. Well, now you have to hold out and get a PS5 when they come out in the fall or in the winter.
Yeah, it's already a discussion. But yeah, this is on Xbox One.
Because I'm playing, I just finished The Last of Us, and I'm playing The Last of Us 2, and those are PlayStation exclusives, unfortunately. Probably my favorite video game since Final Fantasy VII, which was 1998. It's that good. And it's a zombie thing.
Well, that's the thing I've noticed. I've noticed you talking about it, and it's funny. Again, you can feel free to judge me as a father, but
I will.
Landon, our younger one, has been rocking the first Last of Us on PS3.
Oh, that's right. It is on PS3.
Yeah, the first one is.
Yeah, there's some dirty words in there. A lot.
There are.
You should get into it, dude. It's a hell of a game.
No,
All right,
I played it. It's fun. Yeah, let's talk to.
Oh no, I thought we were done. Are we moving to cricket now? You said you want to talk cricket. Here we are with video games in the first 10 minutes, pissing everybody off. You finally you had to get into the whole bubble, Lou Williams. I was very happy to see that article. This is the story I want to see covered in the bubble, Sam, and you're doing it.
I love it. We go from video games to strip clubs. Okay.
Right. Here's what I found out in the last week, Sam. I have found out that legitimately the strip club, gentleman's club, Magic City in Atlanta, apparently has really good food.
Well, and since you also are always nice enough to plug The Athletic,
yes,
I'll just keep that train rolling. I haven't read it yet, but our guy who covers the Hawks, Chris Kirshner, apparently took one for the team recently and has penned an article on our site about the inside scoop at Magic City. He went and on the expense account spent a few hours trying to find out, what that joint is all about.
If he didn't try the Lou Williams wings, then the article.
Oh, he did.
Okay, good.
No, it's in fact, you won't often see story promotion like this. He started here's the tweet. Chris Kirshner, if you want to follow him.
Right.
I spent a few hours in Magic City yesterday and totally understand why Lou Williams wanted wings from a strip club. Quote, "It's the magic, baby," is what I learned. Makes their wings so special. Tropical Delight gave me a recommendation for next time, too.
Wait, was that one of the dancers, or is that?
Yes.
Or is that a wing flavor? I truly didn't know. Okay, so we have now officially had 2 chicken wing violations in and outside, because Rashawn Holmes and we were talking about this yesterday. Imagine somebody throwing a bag of wings over this this fence with the barbed wire on top and the spotlights going off, and Rashawn trying to run.
A 7-footer trying to be inconspicuous.
Like I thought it was going to be the companionship aspect, and Lou tried to combine those two perhaps, but it's really Can we get fire wings or at least some form of chicken wing restaurant in the bubble, Sam?
I am with you 100%. And I also, anybody in the wing industry who has a marketing brain, I hope Buffalo Wild Wings or one of them is already, fashioning commercials after this trend. Because, apparently that was the way to keep the bubble safe, is to get some of the wings on the inside. It is funny, too, so I wrote that story, and listen, my unofficial calculus on deciding to get off my couch on a Saturday afternoon and write that story was like, okay, this is pretty unique. The NBA legitimately has to figure out how concerned they are about Lou Williams going to a strip club. And it was like, welcome to the bubble life in 2020. But it's just something that we didn't see coming, right? Because we knew that players were going to be potentially leaving for serious things like funerals. I fully understand people who, I'm a little torn on how I see it. It's not responsible of him to go there. Right. I don't know how he spent his time there. You know what I mean? And the other part that I was surprised to kind of understand, because at first you just look at it and say, no, that's just completely out of bounds. You should be going to the funeral, getting in, getting out, and that's it. But it did make me laugh when, Lou's argument about his track record of stating his love for these wings and this place and their kitchen. Yeah. He's got the receipts.
He does.
He has done several interviews, before all this happened, where he, you almost think that he's getting a check from them because he's telling people how good the wings are, and then you find out that they have wings named after him on the menu. So if ever you were gonna need to back up your argument, I was left to kind of shrug, all right, dude, I guess they're pretty good.
Kind of building on the whole Lou Williams thing. Shockingly, another NBA player is going back and forth with Kendrick Perkins, who had some strong comments on Lou Williams, going to Magic City. Sam, I have to wonder at this point, you're around a lot of players. I know you've talked to a lot of guys. Is there when Perkins says things just kind of, they just kind of roll their eyes, Or are you starting to see more and more like players are really getting over his takes when he is coming at certain players on TV?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a great sense of that. If I had to guess, I think it's just, first of all, whether you agree or disagree with him as a player, the easiest angle to take on him is just that, his reputation is just such a guy that, sure, he won a championship. He was around great players, but I mean, he's extended his 15 minutes,
right?
To a pretty great deal, and now become a pretty prominent voice. And it's because he's candid and he's not afraid to say things. But if you're a player who is superior, either present or past, you're going to look at him and just think, okay, man, you're kind of a clown because why do I care what you think? So it's always tough when. It makes I kind of enjoy seeing the transition that players try to make, because a lot of them are guilty of thinking that our jobs are easy for the whole time that we cover them. Then they get on the other side and it's like, yeah, you can't have this job unless you say something, and Kendrick has done a good job of that, but it is coming at a cost. So we've seen him get sideways with Kevin Durant, where, I witnessed that friendship firsthand, covering the Thunder quite a bit back in those years. But, over time, it's like, it's the Barkley effect. Like, Chuck has developed incredibly thick skin because he had to, because the truth is he's going to say what he feels. He's going to see, say what he sees, and just kind of let the chips fall where they may. And I definitely think that's the direction that Perk is going.
Sam Amick with us. I feel like I have to shoehorn a Kings question in here, and I truly
Sure.
No, I don't even know what to ask you, which is awesome that I've prepped this much. Like
well, I'm going to inject a quick.
Please.
I'm going to hijack your programming.
Do it.
Since you have some, I know it's the King station, and the Kings are going to get mad at me for saying this. Just at the back end of our conversation, let me shoehorn in a Warriors thing from something that I wrote today.
Oh, you want really?
What? You can't do that?
No, I can.
You're in California?
No, I can.
No.
Go Dubs.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying. Okay, it's not a go Dubs thing.
Okay.
This is my selfish thing. I interviewed David West on the podcast.
All right.
And the thing I enjoyed, and this is a reporting thing, David, you always appreciate
I do.
that side. Do you remember when I had broken the story on the Warriors meningitis scare?
Yes.
Back in
I do.
March of 2018.
Yes,
I don't often. I'm not often dishonest publicly or on your platform about like me getting in my feelings about reporting stuff, but like, admittedly, it always kind of bugged me that story didn't really land the way I thought it would, because to me it was a massive thing, and a lot of people shrugged and they were like, "Oh yeah, they were scared for a few days." Da da da. So the shameless plug is that for the first time ever, I got David West to talk openly about what happened back in March of 2018 when they thought that meningitis was going to spread throughout the Warriors locker room. And even as somebody who had written the story previously, like, it was pretty deep stuff where he's talking about, like, getting called in by a doctor and thinking that he's going to be told that, one of his teammates died. So,
if I remember right,
anyway.
too, about that story, and I hope I'm not mixing stories up, but if I remember not just about your story, but the story in general, wasn't there a lot of, I don't want to say secrecy, but a lot of, like, there were a lot of things that were alleged that didn't, and sources said, and there was, if I remember right, the Warriors were very careful, and those players were very careful with who said what and what was said, and kept a lot of it close to the vest. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that I got as close as I could get to the story. I went back and read it, this week, and honestly, was almost disappointed in my own reporting because it just didn't have the level of detail that even he provided in this interview, because nobody would talk. Now, the way it happened back then was I had interviewed David West for something else, and he ended up mentioning a health scare that they had, but he wouldn't give it to me.
That's right. That's right.
He kind of sent me down the road, though, and then I got it somewhere else. Then I got it somewhere else again, confirmed it, 3, 4, 5 times, whatever it was, and then wrote it. But yeah, there was a ton of secrecy. I mean, he even tells a story about how the CDC came and had to give them shots before a game one night, and he's sitting there going, "Wait, we got to get shots right now?" And he said, "Yeah, right now." And then after they got the shots, and these are vaccinations for meningitis, they normally you would put a Band-Aid on the needle wound or mark, And they couldn't even do that because they didn't want anybody to know that it happened. So they just put a cotton swab on it and let it kind of stop bleeding or whatever. And they were trying to keep this thing under wraps. But when he made his cryptic, infamous comment after the 2018 title, if you remember, he talked about how, man, you guys don't even know how hard this was, and stuff happened that you didn't even know about. I mean, that was the mystery solved of this whole thing, is that he doubled down in our interview on the fact that, yes, that was what he was talking about for the most part, that, you know, they had skirted this thing that had everybody terrified. So I thought it was interesting. He was awesome. So go listen to it, go read it.
Very good.
Sam Amick from The Athletic, kind enough to join us this morning. Sam, something that's kind of gone around on I like to call it King's Internet, King's Twitter, whatever you want to call it, is there was a report, not from The Athletic, obviously, that there might be a divide between Kings ownership and the front office when it comes to the two-guard position on who is the preferred shooting guard. From your perspective, is there anything to that you've heard?
I hadn't seen that reporting. Do you mind filling the gaps in if there's anything else to be filled? I mean, is it just the
it's a Bleacher? It was a Bleacher Report article.
It's by. I don't want to put you in a bad spot, Sam.
That's why I didn't say.
Please don't respond to what I'm going to say, and I'll help you segue out of this because Sam's classier than me. It's by, in my opinion, the worst NBA writer that exists, and so Jay brought it up.
The Bucher? No, and he's a friend. I'm not trying to.
I know you're not. I know you're not.
But know your opinion.
You know my opinion of him, and so I generally don't share his work on the air. But Jay's right. That's the report that came out, and one of the things that was alleged was that.
That's why I phrased it in that sense. Right.
There's a difference in opinion. You're not hearing that necessarily.
No, but independent, or I guess regardless of your opinion of Rick, I would tend to, I would not look sideways at that reporting. Yeah. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. And I will say that I think I have a decent enough sense of, like, you know, the direction from which that sort of information might be coming. That I would tend to believe it.
Sure.
So,
sure.
But I don't know that independently. It does make some sense, but I would also couch it by saying what don't ownership and front office disagree about a lot of times. But within this organization in particular, and ownership sometimes needs to be used kind of lightly within the Kings because of their power structure, because certainly Vivek Ranadive is the majority owner. Yeah, is the governor, and he's the number one voice, but they have a lot of cooks in the kitchen, and they have more minority owners than I believe anybody in the league. And that remains an issue when it comes to kind of the chatter and the rumblings and things that occasionally get out.
Sam Amick writes for The Athletic. Does a fantastic job. When does your piece with Mr. West come out? Is that did you say
it's out? I just tweeted it a few minutes ago. Yeah, it's out. It's a podcast. I tried to pull out some of the highlights, so there is a written version where you can check out some of the things he said. But he was awesome. I know we got to jump. The real quick thing that he led with was there's this company or program called Athletes Voices that's taking like 50 super high-end athletes and partnering them with Harvard to essentially combine academia and sports and help these guys get even better at using their voices, which I thought was a pretty neat idea. So that was the main reason that we kind of wrapped, but he got into all kinds of stuff.
He was such a class act while he played too. This is no surprise what he's doing with his post basketball career.
No, for sure. Yeah. You would enjoy the dad part of it too, by the way. There's some good dad talk in there of him trying to avoid the good old dad bod that gets us all.
Oh, cushy poker player builds. All right, I'll listen to it. I'm going to be listening to it on my way home today. Last thing real quick, because we are out of time. It's a yes or no. I just saw on the television while we were talking, Sam, this is the first time hearing about it. Apparently, Hidden Valley Ranch has come out with a dry seasoning for vegetables, chicken, and other things. Would you give it a try?
I would, but I don't know how to respond to that. Dry seasoning coupled with gentleman's club conversation. I don't know. This is a lot.
and there you go. That's our very own dipwad brother, Sam Amick, joining us on the show. Check him out at The Athletic. Listen to the podcast that's out. We always appreciate your time, dude. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. See ya.
It's the Carmichael Dave Show on Sports 1140 KHTK.